Okay, everyone, if I could ask you to take your seats, I'm genuinely so sorry to stop such good quality conversation in the room. This is the downside of this role because that chatter sounded fantastic. So I'm just waiting for the signal that we are live. Excellent. Okay. So, good evening, everyone. I am Sarah. I'm the chair here at Harrogate and District Foundation Trust, and it is my absolute pleasure to welcome you to our annual members meeting. Now, whether you are here in the room, and it is brilliant to see you here in the room, or if you're watching from somewhere else, I hope that's comfy wherever you are, or even if you're watching later by the power of technology, it's fantastic that you have joined us this evening. And I want to start by acknowledging it feels like it took us a little while to get here. We took a very difficult decision to postpone this really important event that we were meant to have in September. And this was for a number of reasons, but including a shorter parliamentary period. And because we need to lay our accounts and our report before Parliament, it meant that we had to postpone this to a little bit later. And then we got really excited when that process has completed. And we thought, brilliant, we can do our annual members meeting. And we advertised it fully. And then we were told that there wasn't going to be any parking at our venue. And we'd advertised this as having parking. So we were left saying, oh, we now have to move this. So it feels like despite our best efforts, it took a little while to get here. However, here we are, which is really, really important. Now, in terms of changing this venue, we know that this is a bit of a way out of town. And if you use public transport, if you want to be here with us in the room, it makes it extra difficult for us. And those kinds of things we recognise present real barriers to engaging with us and for us to engage in you. And that is absolutely not what we want. You are so important to us. So we want to have the opportunities to be able to come together. Everyone who uses our services, who rely on us to use those services, everyone who helps provide those services, you are very, very important to us. And that's why it's really good to take a moment to say a huge thank you to some of our governors who have been working on our engagement strategy. And we are thrilled tonight because they are going to talk to you about the work that they have done so far, what this means in terms of engagement, and be able to talk to you about what engagement means. So massive, massive thank you to our dedicated governors who have been taking forward this work. And in advance, a thank you to you for taking part in it. Now, if you're at home watching this or watching this later and thinking, how do I take part in this? There will be the opportunity to get in touch with us via our usual email address, or just pick up the phone and tell us your thoughts, your views, your ideas. We want this to matter to you. So just two further things from me, just so you know who is in the room with us. First of all, I would like all of our governors to raise their hands and give a very excited and enthusiastic wave. There they are. So they are our governors who are with us tonight. And for a foundation trust, they play such an important role for us because they are our eyes and ears in the community. They represent the views of our constituents, the people who need and use our services. So we are beyond grateful to the role that governors play, and having them here tonight is very important because it's also their meeting too. Who else is in the room are members of our board? Could I please ask our non-executive directors to also give a big enthusiastic wave? There they are. There are less of them, so you need to wave a bit more vigorously. There we go. And then we have our executive colleagues who also make up the rest of the board. So if I could ask our executive colleagues to give us a big wave. Brilliant. Thank you so much. And we have other colleagues who have taken the time to join us this evening as well, which is brilliant. Some of whom you've seen, particularly a big hello to our charity colleagues who have been here tonight. Later on in our agenda, you'll get the chance to have a bit of a natter and get to know these people. But that's why I thought it was really important to be able to do a proper hello so you know who is in the room. So the final thing I want to say is I really hope you enjoy this session. This is an important moment for us. It gives us that chance to talk about what happened in that year that we refer to. So the really fantastic elements and some of the challenges as well. And it's really important that we can talk to you about this in more detail so that we can engage you in it. So I really do hope that you enjoy it. So that is my welcome. I'm going to move on to item 2, which is about the minutes from the previous annual members meeting that we held last December. You'll be very pleased to know that our Council of Governors who met this afternoon have approved those minutes. So without further ado, I am going to hand you over to Claire, who is our lead governor, who has a little bit of a poorly voice today. So this could be an interesting few minutes, but it's brilliant because she's able to tell you about the really important work of the governors and the councils and how they support the wider work of the trust. So Claire, over to you.
It might not be that squeaky anymore. Right, so hello and welcome everybody. I've already been introduced. I am Claire Illingworth. I am the lead governor for the trust. Am I pressing? Oh, do you want me to do it?
Jonathan's no?
So, the Council of Governors is chaired by the Trust, for those that don't know. We are made up of 19 elected governors, 13 public governors, and elected by public members. We have 6 staff governors elected by staff members and 6 stakeholder governors who are nominated. Just briefly, there's a graphical there of the governance of an NHS Foundation Trust. So really simply, the governors represent the interest of the members, and we currently have 15,611 members on our database. The governors ask NEDs questions and non-execs questions and seek assurances from the non-executives on your behalf. The executives are accountable to the non-executives for the performance of the trust, and the chairman is appointed by the governors and chairs both the Council of Governors and the board. So a quick overview. So, as you are aware, the council is a very fluid council, and as expected, we were saying goodbye to some governors. So in 2022 and 23, we've said goodbye to the following governors that were either not re-elected or stood down themselves. And it's a wholehearted big thank you to those governors for their hard work and support over their terms of office, and we are so grateful for all of their contributions. Likewise, we welcome new governors over the last couple of years as well. So we would like to welcome the new governors, some of which are in this room today and those that are not present. And just to also highlight as well that we currently have a number of vacancies at the moment. And if you are interested, please grab one of us, make contact with us. We are currently really promoting membership and highlighting this is an area at the moment as well within the council. So this year, 2022-23, we have been busy. We have approved and appointed non-execs, some associate non-exec directors. We also approved the appointment of the Jonathan, our chief executive, and appointed the Sarah, our chair, in April 22. So a little bit about, and this is a little bit about of what we've been doing. We've been doing many activities. So just to give you a little snapshot, we have undertaken the chair and non-executive director appraisals just recently. We have attended board committees and informal governor briefings. We have appointed 2 non-executive directors, 2 associate executive directors, and also the chairman. We've approved the CEO appointment. The external auditor appointment. We had oversight with the new financial director appointment. We have reviewed the constitution to reflect some of the updates have reflected the new geographical reach. We have been cited and commented on quality priorities. We have attended governor training with NHS providers. We had a governor workshop last year. And with Govern Well as well, which is part of NHS providers, we carried out an effectiveness review of the council, something that we've not really done before, because what we really wanted to know is how effective are we being as a council? And actions from the effectiveness review included recognising the need for deputy lead governor support as well. And we have approved today, we did appoint 2 interim deputy governors, and now we actually have approved today the 2 new deputies, which are Jackie and Mike, which are over here. You need to spread yourselves out. I just thought I'd say that before Sarah moves you. We also recognise the need for a membership and engagement strategy, which Jackie and Mike have been working really hard on with other governors, and we will be working on that later, as Sarah's already mentioned. And we also recognise the need for a review of the constitution in terms of governor representation and also the geographical reach. So that is it. So thank you very much for listening. If you would like to chat further, seek one of me or any of the governors out. If you don't want to speak to us tonight or there isn't time, you can actually contact us through one of those methods there as well. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Claire.
Wasn't too
Thank you very much. So you've heard from Claire about the breadth of the work that they have done in this last period, and that is just a summary. It doesn't include everything that they have done, but we are so grateful for everything that they continue to do for us, and particularly when our governors stop being governors and they become members and they still support the work of the trust. Incredibly important. So thank you again, Claire, for doing that excellent summary for us. So we're now going to move on to Jonathan's overview. So I'm delighted to welcome Jonathan to the microphone.
Great. Thanks, Stuart. And hello, everybody. My name's Jonathan. I'm the Chief Exec here at HTFT, and it's great to see you in the audience today. And hopefully I won't spend too much time kind of talking to you, and we'll get on to the kind of engagement session a bit later on. So I'm just going to reflect a little bit on HTFT and what we've been doing and what we continue to do for the patients and populations that we serve. So you'll all probably be aware that the NHS was 75 this year, a significant milestone. And whilst the kind of performance of the NHS and the satisfaction with the NHS from the population kind of will wax and wane over that period of time, there's absolutely no doubt that its importance remains at the heart of the country, really, in the heart of the population. And we all We all know that because we all use the NHS, and I've said this many times, when we do use the NHS, it is the most important thing in our lives at that point in time. We organise our lives around it. We have friends and family asking about it. We worry about it constantly. So we know that we do the most important thing that there is in the country in terms of being part of the NHS. And it's 75 years old, and hopefully it will live way beyond the next century. And we're temporary custodians, and we therefore have a responsibility to make sure that we always do the right thing, that we always look to do things well. And if our things aren't going well, we seek to improve it. And that's a responsibility of us as leaders, as an organisation in temporary custodianship of the NHS here at HTFT. And at the moment, you'll hear a lot in the press or from your own experience or from conversations about the challenges within the NHS at the moment, whether it's the backlog from COVID, the long waiting times, the growing mental health concerns within society, particularly around children, or whether it's the effect on the economy as a result of COVID, or the education that's been affected by that. There are problems around resources at the moment. We've got disaffected colleagues taking industrial action at the moment against the government, which is sad. So there are plenty of challenges at the moment, and there are cases like the Lucy Letby case recently, or failings in a few maternity units around the country that will make people lose a bit of confidence in the NHS. So plenty of things to reflect on in terms of HTFT, but I suppose what I would ask is that in terms of, there's always context, there's always things happening, there's always noise as I would describe it, but we just need to maintain the kind of simple thought about what the NHS is here for. And if you ask the population what they want from the NHS, and under many surveys, different words: high quality care delivered by trained, competent staff at a time that they need it in a decent environment. And if you ask our colleagues what they want as part of working as part of HTFT, which is what we do, they want people here, they want to work in a decent place, and they want to be appreciated. So I think as we kind of go through the evening and talk about what we do, I think it's just worth remembering that it isn't that complicated. What we do is sometimes difficult, but it's not too complicated to think about why we're here and what we're about. So what part does HTFT play? We've joined this up, obviously, because Claire put a map very similar to mine up, which is perfect. So we're in the same organisation. So that you can see there about what HTFT does in terms of its geography, provide adult and community services around Harrogate and the North Yorkshire area. And we provide the 0 to 19 children's services from Wakeford up to Northumberland and a lot of the North East in between that part. And our key purpose is to put the patient and the child first. So that's what we say we will do. And you can see some of the numbers there in terms of the catchment populations and the many people that we serve. And again, as I'd always say, there's thousands and thousands and thousands of people, but every one of them is an individual that need to be looked after at a particular point of time in their life. So following on from developing our trust strategy last year, which I think we might have talked through, we also talked a bit about at that point, I think, our draft clinical strategy that we were talking about at last year's annual members meeting. So we've also developed and signed off a clinical strategy for the organisation during the last year. And there's a focus there on integrated care, close to home as possible through a kind of HTFT at home programme of work, supporting people to live with frailty in our community, and also, given the nature of our services, a focus on children and young people as well. And also recognising that we are one part of the NHS and we need to work with our partners and colleagues in many organisations to do the best for the patients and population that we serve. So we've developed this clinical strategy alongside our trust strategy. So in one sense, you could say we kind of know what we need to try and do. So I suppose the next question is, how are we doing at the moment? Are we making a difference, and are we supporting people? And I suppose a quick aside, and I've mentioned this to a couple of people. I was at something a couple of weeks ago, and Amanda Pritchard, who's the CEO of NHS England, was talking, and she said there were 3 things that kept her optimistic about the NHS, despite all the many challenges that I'm sure she has to deal with every day. And she said, do we believe in what we're doing? And I think I've said we do the most important role that there is. So I think we absolutely believe in what we're doing. Do we work with great colleagues? And again, you could go around anywhere in HTFT and see all the wonderful things that go on in HTFT and would say, absolutely. And then do we make a difference? Are we contributing? And I think that's crucial to make sure that we do absolutely make a difference to the health and care of the population. So how are we doing in HTFT? I'm just going to go through a few kind of slides, and they come across as kind of performance slides. It's how we're doing, but these are all linked into the quality of care and the quality of experience that the population experiences through ourselves. So the first one's urgent care, and the barometer of urgent care is actually how long do people have to wait in the A&E department, in the emergency department within Harrogate Hospital. That's a kind of proven standard that actually, if you get that right, the quality and experience for patients is improved. And you can see what's happened over the kind of post-COVID time, where it dropped down last year to around the 60 or 70% of people were seen within the 4 hours. And then this year, you can see the rise back up to over 80%, and then the recent drop off. So these are things that we have to get right. So we've done much better this year than we've done in the previous year. It's dropped off in the last couple of months, but we'll be looking to turn that around and make sure we deliver that at the end of the year. So that's how we're doing in urgent care. And I should say, I suppose, at the period of time earlier in the year where we were doing relatively well, was a time when we were in the top 3 organisations in the country in terms of our ED performance. Not where we wanted to be, but relative to others, a very good performance. In terms of how long people wait on waiting lists, another indicator of quality and experience for people. And again, you can see the top there is the huge growth in the waiting list over time during the post-COVID years, and it's starting to come down at this period in time. You can see in the bottom right-hand corner there the number of people that have been waiting over 65 weeks for treatment, and you can see you can see that as you go around the organisation as well, and that gives us great cause for optimism in terms of looking forward in terms of HDFT and what we deliver for the hundreds and thousands of patients that do rely on us. So I'm just going to end by, I suppose, going a little bit back to the start about how important the NHS is, how important HDFT's role is, and how important all the colleagues are. And this was from the reasonably recent Marmot report about health inequalities, actually a couple of years ago now, and it just said what I said at the beginning. Really, health is repeatedly shown to be the nation's top priority, and so it should be. It is quite simply a matter of life or death, of well-being or sickness. Good health is an indication that society is thriving and working in the best interests of the population. That's why we do what we do, and that's why we always want to be better as well. And as I said, health and care is provided by people for people. So we are a huge multi-talented team in HDFT, and I'd just like to thank all 5,500 colleagues that work across the organisation in Harrogate and Ripon hospitals across our communities, from Wakefield to Northumberland and from Scarborough to Skipton. I'd like to thank our governors and non-exec colleagues as well for the support they provide to the organisation. And specifically, I'd like to thank Sarah, our chair, and my director colleagues as well, who provide wonderful support to me personally. But it's much more important than that they work tirelessly to improve services for the benefit of our population that we serve. So I want to say a big thank you to them in particular. Okay, thanks very much.
Okay, thank you, Jonathan. As you can see, it has been an immensely busy period with a lot of detail there, but this is why it's important to be able to share some of that with you and then give you the opportunity to discuss it in a short while. So I'm going to keep moving on with our agenda, and we are moving on to the summary of our annual report and accounts. So I'm delighted to welcome Jordan to the stage, who is our Director of Finance. So welcome.
Thank you, Sarah. I've realised my first error. It's got Acting Director of Finance on the front, hasn't it? Which is an error, is a mistake, but never mind. So yes, I am Jordan Mackay, Director of Finance. It's great to be with you all. I'm going to just talk a little bit through our annual accounts from 22-23, a little bit about what happened, a little bit of the sort of process and governance around some of that. Then a little bit about the present, what's happening at the moment from a financial point of view and what's going on in the organisation. And then a little bit to touch on what might be happening in the future. So 3 elements to what I'm going to describe. So for 22-23, really straightforward. We lived within our resources in an organisation. So we had an outturn last year. You'll see it in the accounts. £652,000 surplus. Exactly what NHS England, our regulators, wanted from us. It fits into the system figures overall and everything else that sort of feeds into that. I suppose the big number that's in all of this is we spent on revenue £352 million across all of the services that Jonathan mentioned before, impacting on the populations of Harrogate, the populations of Wakefield to Berwick, Scarborough to Settle, all through that sort of side of things. And as our auditors have sort of described, and I'll touch on it in a second, is we provided value for money there. We spent that money well overall in terms of things. We had a significant capital investment last year. A number of historic years pre-COVID, we would spend on our estate, on our IT and other things in capital, we would spend about £5 million. Last year we spent £22 million, and there was some quite significant works that happened in amongst all of that, recognising some of the sort of the environments that our colleagues were working in, touching on what Jonathan mentioned about having places where people can feel proud to work. There was a schemes to improve the well-being environment of some of the places that were worked. There was work that our subsidiary HIF led on in terms of the Salix works, energy improve, the environmental works, improving our energy utilisation and everything else that went with that. And then trying to bring us into the sort of 21st century with some digital improvements, our electronic patient record, which is still a journey that we're on in terms of implementing, but it was the first stage of that last year. So really positive in that regard. We ended the year positive cash balance, 30+ million. You'll see it in the reports there. And I think probably the more important thing about how we managed our money was ensuring we were paying our suppliers in a timely way with the sort of wider impacts on the economy and everything else, making sure that we're supporting all of our suppliers, particularly sort of local suppliers. We paid 93% of our bills within 30 days, which is far, far more better than it was pre-COVID. That was 42,000 to 45,000 bills that we paid last year. The key to that is we still need to keep improving it to keep that positive impact on our suppliers and our society, I suppose, overall. We had some of the sort of last year, the continued impacts of COVID, and in particular, how we got on with some of the elective recovery side of things. So Jonathan's already put up the graphs, which I'll not go back over in terms of where we are with long waiters, but we eliminated, and it feels like an eternity ago in some ways, the in Harrogate, the patients who are waiting 104 weeks, so over 104 weeks and 78 weeks, which is really, really positive. We also did things like how we sort of improved the throughput. Jonathan's mentioned the turnaround, but the 55,000 people who attendances at ED that happened in our emergency department, right the way through to how we were working in community with the 600,000 children that we serve across the population that we look to. So really, really positive stuff. And like I say, the sort of the bit that the auditors give us that was just at the Council of Governors before now, we know that this is that we've got confirmation around those figures because we've got an unqualified opinion. Unqualified is a good thing in the world of audit, for those who don't know. A true and fair view of our financial position and consistency in terms of the annual report with the detailed financial statements. The auditors flagged no issues with our sort of, from a value for money point of view, sustainability point of view, but they did flag some of the challenges in terms of 23-24 that we'll face. And I suppose that's a bit about the present. So we've had, in this financial year, we've got an expectation as an organisation, we'll have a surplus position. We'll have £6 million as a surplus. That's positively going into a balanced position for our integrated care system, the sort of partners around us and the governance that works around that. But that is really challenging in this year, and it's challenging for a few things. So touched on industrial action. We've got some direct costs in terms of cover for some of the industrial action. You'll see it in our board papers, £1.5 million so far this year in terms of covering some of the strike action. We've also got the impact of inflation, and at the start of the year, assumptions around inflation were around 5%, and everyone knows, I suppose, from our day-to-day lives, that 5% inflation is only something that, as the recent stats show, is coming through, but for the rest of the year, it's been significantly higher than that. That's impacting in terms of our financial position, but I suppose also as the sort of challenging environment that some of this creates. So the distractions of being able to organise rotas, etc., for our operational colleagues that then covers where we are is detracting from the ability to do things like efficiency programs, look at how we can be added value for money around different things around that. And that's meant that we've been a bit up on the back foot in terms of some of that efficiencies through the financial year. It means it's really, really challenging. It means that we're supporting our position this year in many places with non-recurrent means. still positive that we're on track with our plans to have a surplus at the end of the year. There's still a lot of work that's going into that, but we've got to be realistic about what's moving forward, which kind of brings us a little bit into the future. A little bit about how inflation will kind of go forward for next year. A little bit about living in our resources and how do we continue to do the great things that Jonathan mentioned before with the taxpayers' money that we're given, and make sure that we're showing value. I think a big bit for the next year will be this continued bit around capital. So getting to the stage where we do have the electronic patient record technically implemented and actually taking it forward for the benefit of our staff, the benefit of our patients and everything with it. Works around our estate and site in terms of backlog maintenance, and other bits and pieces that go with that, some big things. And I think just the last slide from me was, as I've mentioned, the capital, how do we get on top of that? Productivity is one of the challenges internally. We've got to reflect that we're part of a system. So our success or failure is part of the system's success and failure, and how we're working with partners around some of those things. But really back to kind of what do we do locally and what do we do for our populations, how we're addressing the urgent and emergency care issues in a way that is making the most of the investments we've put in, and also eating away at those graphs that Jonathan sort of showed up of the kind of long waits for elective care and everything else. So that'll be the year ahead. That was all I was going to say, Sarah. So I'll go back to you if that's all right.
Thank you. Thank you so much, John. As you know, there are copies around. We tried not to print too many copies because we really do think about the environment very carefully. However, there are digital copies available for you too. So we wanted to ensure that you had some input from us, but what we really wanted to do was have some input from you. So I am delighted to now welcome our two Deputy Lead Governors, Mike and Jackie, who are going to talk to you about the engagement work and then give you an opportunity to talk about that as well. So welcome to the stage, and thank you both.
Have a seat. Oh, thank you.
No, happy to stand.
Okay, hopefully we got this. Luckily, hello everybody. Luckily, I did manage to remove the map from this presentation, so we'll go with what we had in the past. Hi, I'm Mike Dunn. I'm one of the Deputy Lead Governors, and Jackie is the other Deputy Lead Governor, so we found out officially today, so thank you very much to all the governors present. As Claire mentioned, we've worked very hard on developing this strategy, and it's not just the two of us. There are several other governors that have been involved, and what we've tried to do is glean their thoughts, condense them, and produce a document that is valid and will stand the test of time. And as Sarah mentioned, you'll have a fun task later on of being able to do a couple of exercises to help us understand what you need and what you feel of a way forward and how we should be interacting with yourselves. Yay. So a key theme of what we're talking about tonight was one of interaction and engagement. I hope you don't feel we are just talking to you, because it's only by listening to you can we make this task as it is work, and to involve you and get your thoughts on how best to take it forward. So you'll probably know that many other trusts also have a responsibility, as do we, to produce a strategy document. And it has been some time since we've done an update, to be fair. Now, there's been obviously many reasons why, COVID, strikes, other engagement. There are always an important task to do, but it's vital that we reinvigorate this process, that we get the right level of interaction and inform you what's happening. And it would be great to see 10 times as many people here next year. But it's only by these sorts of initiatives and your involvement that we can make that work. So we want to launch the new membership strategy today. And that sounds quite pompous, really, because it's not something that is going to be done to you. It's just the start of a process. What I want you to know is that we are keen, from the top table right down, every governor that's with you here has been involved and wants to make this work. And we want it to make it work too. We're going to follow this up with a series of presentations. There will be a follow-up newsletter, and that will go to all current members, and there'll be posts on our website. What we need to do is get that message out to people that are not in this room, to your friends, your colleagues. We want to increase the membership so we get a full picture of what our patients, our constituents really want to see. The strategy has two parts. One, initially, it tells you why we're doing the job, which is bread and butter, really. You know why we're trying to increase people that are in our membership so we can get your views. But the key there is getting your views and getting the message out. So we need an action plan. And we have a proposal, and Jackie will talk a bit more about that shortly. And that's where we need your initial views as well and your initial involvement. Now, the trust, and to be fair, my two colleagues on the right-hand side have done a fantastic job explaining. Sorry, I nearly forgot our FD, who was very important as well. But they've done a great job in telling you about the trust and what we do. But the trust is accountable to its communities, to the community it serves, to its patients. It cares for the people. It cares for the people in the hospital. It cares for the people it employs. And it's all of those people should be represented in the membership. By becoming members, local people, patients, carers, colleagues, they're able to have their say in the design and the delivery of services. And that's you. And your involvement can be whatever you want to make it. You can just accept information, understand what the trust does, or you can take an active part and give us your feedback, because that will help us to develop and it help the trust go forward. Now, the governors, and they're spread around the room, are elected by you, the members. And we have to perform, some would say, is a vital role in holding the non-execs and non-executive board to account. And they hold the board to account. By communicating with our membership, we can gain an insight into your wants, your needs, what information do you want to see? And it's a key way that we need to perform. It's vital that by understanding what matters most to our members and the wider constituency, by listening, we hope to improve the services. By improving the services, as Jonathan mentioned, we improve the benefits for our whole community. Ooh, there's a nice picture, and I think I got rid of the map. I couldn't get rid of the picture. Yes. As you can see, membership is made up not just of public, but of staff. And staff also play a vital role in developing our membership strategy. They contribute to the views and ideas. They receive information, but as I've mentioned earlier, I want that to be a two-way thing. I'd like feedback from our membership. You elect us, the governors, and you yourselves can stand for governors. I've been a governor now for 15, 18 months. It's been a fantastic opportunity to get involved with the trust, really see how the trust works, and to share the information with friends and colleagues and other people in the public of how they can be involved. As a governor, you're on the Council of Governors, and we had our council meeting earlier on. We're involved in key decisions. We're not just observers sat on the side. We actually can input into future plans. We appoint the chair. We appoint the non-execs. And we approve the CEO. So it is a key role within the trust structure. You've heard a lot about the right-hand side of the map. Today, it's about the left-hand side. It's about how you can be a part of that. As a member, you already are. We want you to share that benefit with others so that we increase the overall membership. What do we hope to achieve? That you, our members, will feel informed and, most importantly, listened to, and be able to see that your views are reflected in the actions of the trust and the services we provide. As a trust, we'll be able to improve our services by listening and responding. Sort of reiterating those words again, it's that interaction that is so important to us. We increase the membership and engagement. Now, the current membership realistically is relatively small. And it's a small proportion of those potentially eligible to become members. The majority of staff are members. We need to get that message out to patients and wider communities. So the actions that we will take as part of this strategy will ensure our members will be truly represented of the communities we serve, of those services, and those services can better reflect the diverse nature and needs of those communities. How to contact us? Well, you speak to a governor, you speak to your local governor. I think in Claire's slide, there was the email. Please email us. There is the opportunity to input into us via the web as well. Write a letter. It is important that your views are not lost. To promote an understanding better of the benefits that we offer, I'm going to hand over to Jackie, who can better describe them than I.
Thank you.
The right-hand side.
Right-hand side, okay. Thank you, Mike. Talking to certainly people in my constituency recently, I was asked the question, well, what exactly are the benefits of being a member? And as has already been said, members can actually choose the level and the amount of involvement with which they engage with the trust, that can range from actually receiving information like today about how the trust is operating and how the system works, to sharing your experience and views on services that can input to how the future service is shared and designed. Is shaped and designed. You can get engaged in volunteering and working in the trust. And as has been said, voting for governors who represent your interests, and another kind of another marker for the fact that we've got vacancies for governors, you can stand as a governor yourself. And additionally, there is also, as you will know in the room if you're members, access to the health discount scheme. So we need to think about how we maybe enhance and discuss and think about what are other benefits of being a member in order to kind of produce some more materials that we can share with other potential members and encourage them to join. Now, what we want to talk to you about in a bit more detail is the membership engagement strategy, and we've kind of set this out under 4 main objectives, and that's about increasing and developing and effectively managing the membership, encouraging a membership which is actually representative of the communities, the staff, the stakeholders, that it serves, and also reflect the diverse needs of those constituencies. And we want to increase the type and quality of engagement with the membership and other stakeholder representatives. And finally, we want to be able to evidence success. We don't want to just create a document, a strategy that's a one-off that ticks a box, that gathers dust. We want to look at how we implement that and how we demonstrate the progress of that strategy coming into fruition. So under those 4 objectives, we've got some supporting aims that we've listed here. Now, I don't intend to go through these in detail, but you've got copies of this slide on your, you've got hopefully more than one copy on the table. And what we're going to want you to do after we finish this presentation is talk through with colleagues about what actions, what activities you envisage would help actually fulfill the objectives and the supporting aims, and put some real meat on the bones. So in terms of next steps and taking this membership engagement strategy forward, first step is today. We want to seek your feedback from this meeting in order for us to be able to put some more detail within the strategy document and the action plan. And then the plan is, as Mike's highlighted, that we want to issue a newsletter and invite feedback from the wider membership and those people who haven't been able to join us in person today. Then we've planned to finalise the strategy and the detailed action plans, but importantly, make sure that we've got a system in place for monitoring the implementation. And we plan to do this through the Governor Development Membership Engagement Committee, mouthful, and reports to the Council of Governors. But really importantly, that we should be in a position to be able to report progress to you at next year's annual meeting on us having made some significant progress. So I will finish there. We were going to ask if there were any general questions to start with from the floor about what we've said so far, and then move on to having the roundtable discussion with looking at supporting aims and what particular ideas and priorities that you would all like to see included in the action plans. Okay. Okay, so
yeah,
any
questions,
questions, any general questions to start with? Well, flummoxed. Oh, yeah.
It's not really a direct question. I'm trying to formulate it as I say it. On one hand, I'm hearing from you that you want better involvement, engagement with the members. And also I'm hearing you tell us you'd like to hear more about community needs. And I'm thinking community is much bigger than the membership. If you plan to increase the membership, how are you going to be reaching out to the wider communities? Because I'm not hearing enough about that. Because you can be talking to the same overall very small number.
So if we go back to that slide there, so if we look at that objective 1 to start with, it's about looking at increasing as well as developing and managing the membership. So we recognise, for example, that we need to review recruitment information, promotional information, raising awareness. So these are some of the ideas, but they're the aims. And what we'd actually like input on is what do we do? What are the actual examples of what do we do in order to achieve that objective and increase membership? And similarly with those other objectives.
The danger is that we're in a cocoon and we think this is the right way to get our message across. And you may say to us, well, I see nothing when I go in my GP surgery. Where's the form And that might just be an idea that you put forward, that we say, well, that is something that will help get the message across. I think the hardest thing is to define the actions that we need to take. We do have an idea, but we don't want to colour your views now. We'd much sooner take a sort of a virgin look at what's the way forward.
Any more general questions before we set you to task?
The word target only appears, or targeted, only appears once on the that. Is anybody setting targets for these things? Because objectives, 80% of targets.
Correct.
Yeah, I think, again, if we look at objective 4, measure and track success. I think
So have you got any targets for that?
that we need to establish baselines in order to then set targets. So we could say we've got a target of increasing membership by a certain percentage based on what that baseline is. But no, to be honest, there aren't, are there?
No.
We haven't. We are starting with a basically blank document, aren't we?
I think when you look at the numbers we have, so we've got something like 15,000 members. We've got an awful lot of membership to go at. There's an awful lot of the population that aren't involved. So yes, you could say we need to double that membership. Is that success, or is success 10 times the membership? You know, we're quite open to ideas. If you say, well, as a member coming here, you would want to see twice as many, that might be the valid way forward. But to do twice as many, we then need the medium to get out to new members, to the public. We need to a various range of activities, and you know we have to prioritise those. But you're right, as part of this exercise, we do need to put some measures on it to ensure, so when we're held to account as well, we say, yes, we have been successful. I thought it was interesting when we were doing our research, there was a number of trusts that had a strategy, but with no actions at all. And that's where I think Harrogate Trust will be different to others. We'll place our strategy in the open world as well as the targets.
How many of the members, staff members?
5,000,
About
isn't it?
5,000.
That's about
Yeah.
third.
So it's about 11,000 public members and 4,500, 5,000 staff members.
And how many would be like Harrogate based? You know, hospital based?
It could be quite a few. It
Yeah.
could be quite a few. I think what you've pointed out is that we need to, establish the detail of the data that's going to help us be able to plan and measure.
As your colleague was saying, to get the targets right, you need to understand the data to start off with.
Any more questions before I draw the line and
Get stuck in.
set people to work?
10 minutes have we got?
10 minutes maximum.
10 minutes maximum for you.
Okay.
Shall we get one of the
Yeah.
governors on the table to make some notes for us? That would be really helpful. So hopefully if we've done this right, there should be a governor and a member of staff on each table. If the governor could capture the views of that table.
And I'll leave that slide up, but there's also the handouts on the table.
So that's the second time this evening that I've had to stop this lively and lovely chatter. And I am genuinely very, very sorry, because it sounded like you were getting into really good discussions. And particularly because of the tables that I visited, and I'm sure Jonathan was the same, we heard lots of practical suggestions, which was the request. So thank you. I will say that if you're not in a rush and you'd like to hang around, we would love to continue this conversation. So although we have a strict finishing time, please don't think this is the end of the conversation. As I said at the start of the session, if you are not in the room with us tonight, if you are watching later online as well, it's really important that you have the opportunity to get in touch with us. And there are a variety of ways, as you know, that you're able to do that. So thank you so much for your engagement in this task. Really, really appreciate it. And an extra special thanks to the people who made lots of notes, which means we can gather them in and review that as well. So just very quickly before we finish, there were a couple of matters of what we might term as housekeeping. The first is our constitution, which, as you know, is a really important, quite lengthy document. However, over the last few years, our geography and the nature of our services has not just changed, it's also increased. So it was time to update this. You'll see from the document that it has been to our board, it's also been to our council. However, this is your opportunity as well. Tonight, I need to make sure that you've had the opportunity to see that and also be able to approve it, because it defines our trust services and how they matter to you. So I'm hoping that I can have an approval for that. If I could see a nod or two in the room, that would be really helpful. Thank you very much indeed. And then the last thing is about our previous accounts from last year. We've been undertaking quite a robust governance review, and the previous accounts were two separate documents. We have now combined them. So just for your information, that's also presented as part of the agenda this evening. So that's everything in terms of housekeeping. Can I finish by saying thank you so much again for taking the time to be with us tonight, whether you're in the room or whether you're at home or whether you're watching later. Please, please do keep in touch with us. We provide services for you, so you telling us how we're doing and what you need absolutely matters. Can I say a special thank you to our governors and for all of their involvement and engagement in making tonight happen too. And I want to wish you a lovely, safe journey home when the time comes. Thank you very much, everybody. Thank you.